Hey YouTubers, how's it going out there? Brett Tadlock here, TN artist. Wanted to jump on here real quick and share with you a little tutorial on how I made a custom iPhone background in Artrage 5, and I actually also used the Artrage iPhone app to make it. So I've been wanting to experiment with some different textures and some different looks. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to play around and make my own background, and I'm going to try and make lava. So that's what I did here. So I first started out with this yellow background, and then from there, I added in some reds and some oranges. And then taking the palette knife, I'm just smearing it out. So I'm not using any special settings per se. It's just the default ones because I was using the iPhone app right here and my finger instead of a stylus to do all the color lay-in and knife smudges and stuff. So I wanted to just use the default ones there. Didn't want to use anything special. So this is sped up, by the way. This took me about 3 times the length of this video to do this. So, but I didn't figure you guys would want to sit here and watch the whole thing. So the key to making stuff that looks like lava or that looks like fire is to first start with that yellow background and then add in streaks of darker colors and kind of keep playing around with it. I'm adding in yellows and whites and grays because what I eventually want to do is tone it down enough where when I go back and add the highlights, they stick out. Because remember, you got to have darks before you can have highlights. So the next thing I'm doing right here is I'm adding in some rocks and just random shapes, and then I'll go around them in the red below to start again pushing that darkness so that later I can come back and add in the bright tones, and then just taking the knife tool to blend it around and really kind of set that in it. Because with lava, it turns darker as it cools, so those dark spots are going to be cool spots, and around it you're going to put the darker red. Go back in with some orange, some yellow, and then make orange and lighten it up. And then I wanted to set these down a little bit, so I'm going around and with the knife tool again and blurring it into it, so that way I can get it to look more set in the lava instead of setting on the lava. And then just kind of breaking up the shapes because I noticed they were getting a little too similar. And then to give it a little bit of 3D look, I wanted to go back and add some highlights, which is what I'm doing here. And then adding in also some more light tones, which you'll see. Now, I eventually will bring this over into the desktop version where I actually have my stylus and my graphics tablet. And so that way I can use my graphics tablet to get a little bit more definition and refinement. But right here, I still just using the iPhone app and smearing it all out. So as you're doing this and as you're building up something, you want to, again, start thinking about the shapes of the rocks. And the best way to do that is just randomly smearing some highlights and some dark tones. And then from there, I use the pen tool to get a crisper, darker edge, and then went back and smudged out some of the sides to play with the focus, out of focus. And because you're going to have that heat shimmer that's going to knock stuff out of focus as you're looking at it. And we're kind of looking down on the lava if you hadn't figured that out. So this would be like looking down on a flowing river of lava. And that's what I was trying to figure out was my path for all that. I've actually worked on a couple other ones as well, like a mountain scene and stuff like that, taking into more of account the perspective that you're at. But from here, again, just trying to play with the textures. This was kind of a practice piece that I wanted to be able to make into a background for my phone. So I've got it laid out here in a very vertical setting. You can actually just Google iPhone background dimensions and get it really well. And it turns out great. So just do that. And so again, just going in with the pen tool, laying out some, actually that was the eraser tool, and just I'm erasing down to the bright yellow background that I had, and then smearing it around it to bring out the highlights, because that was one thing I noticed was kind of difficult, was to get these highlights to sit on top of here and look right. And I was kind of overwhelming it with the orange and the reds. So, but anyway, just Google the look, the dimensions for an iPhone background. You'll find it there. And then, so here what I want to do is go back in and add in some highlights of that yellow and blur it out to get that look. So start with the yellow background, go to some lighter oranges and reds on the edges, put in your stone look for the rocks that are starting to cool down and form on top of it as it's breaking up and flowing. And then you can really start to get that contrast and look of the cooling down lava and the increasing heat beneath it. So anyway, if you would like to get a copy of this, more than happy to share it with you. It's over in our private Facebook group that you can find, and all you got to do is just the links below. You can join and have that over there. I've shared it out with the group that's there, just so we can start a discussion about what people are using and how they're doing stuff, and the details that they're putting in using either the iPhone app or using the desktop app or whatever, but how they're doing it, what they're doing it, and how we can just share it together and have a good community. So one of the last thing I'm doing here is putting in a few more crisp details and highlights on the stones, so that way we can kind of see the dimension of it from looking down on top of the river of lava, and get a good feel for the depth in it. On the phone, it looks really good. The texture of the canvas is picked up a little bit more. So it came out much more painterly, which is what I wanted. I didn't want a photo version of lava. I wanted a good feeling of it, a good impression of lava. So trying to keep a much more impressionistic view of it. So what do you think? What are your thoughts about this? Leave me some comments below. Ask some questions. Be more than happy to explain the process a little bit more there if you need. And just trying to make sure that you're taken care of with this. So I hope you've enjoyed this. We're kind of coming up on the end of it here. But if you've got questions, leave them down below. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And hey, share it as well. I'll be putting this out on the normal social media, like Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook and so forth. But so you can find it there as well. But like I said, jump over to Facebook, join our group, and that way we can interact and get some more feedback on things that you're trying to do. I hope you've enjoyed this. Again, this is Brett Tadlock, TN Artist, and thanks so much for watching it. So if you have any questions or anything, just let me know down in the comments.